Back here with another week of confidence picks here on Bigger 10. I'm Steve Dace. He's Aaron McIntyre. Brother, we're down to the final month of this already, if you can believe it.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. We say it every year, but it's true every year. It just goes by too dang fast. Let's get an update on the standings. Where are things now heading into the month with no more buys?
I'm glad that month is here. After you had a perfect week last week, I had a perfect week. You hit on Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, missed on Nebraska, pulling the upset over Illinois, and you hit on Iowa over Northwestern. I hit on all five here just by virtue of placing a little more confidence in Illinois over Nebraska at the end there, and got all of the other ones. So you picked up only, 9, 12, 13 points. I picked up 9, 12, 15 points, and so I extend my lead by 2 points over you. Once again, 356 to 344 going into week, 11 now?
Week 10.
Week 10.
Yep. All right, let's get to it here. You know I like to lose. All right, my 7-point game this week is Ohio State over Northwestern, and I don't think I have to tell you why.
I need an in-depth handicap for that.
Yeah, I love me some Fitz, man, but dude. My 6-point game this week, Michigan over Rutgers. I don't think it'll be 78-0. Like it was when Michigan went out there in 2016. Rutgers is a far more competent program. More like probably something in the neighborhood of 34-17 would be my guess. Michigan kind of in a letdown spot here, but still too talented for the Scarlet Knights. My 5-point game, I'm going to go with Illinois over Michigan State. Here we have a team whose identity is rock solid right now, whose culture is rock solid right now. There is not really, if anything, Michigan State's still a more talented team probably overall, but Michigan State does not have an identity. Its culture is really shaky right now. So give me the team here that is still ascending as a program with the Illini. My 4-point game this week is Penn State over Indiana. The only reason it's not higher here is I do wonder if Penn State just suffered its dream crusher loss. That's another reason why I'm advocating for playing Drew Aller, because that sort of reboots the ecosystem within the team. Like, oh, okay, yeah, we're setting things up.
Something.
Yeah, we're playing for something. We're setting us up for next year, and a lot of these guys will be back, right? My 3-point game this week is Minnesota over Nebraska. I just don't trust Nebraska at all.
And nor should you.
I mean, whether to be good or to be bad, I shouldn't have played them last week. I'm wrong on them every time I play them. And so I just don't trust them. So I'm only putting 3 points on it. My 2-point game this week, I'll take Wisconsin over Maryland. Maryland has the better record, but I think Wisconsin has the better team and is playing at home. The Badgers win. And I'll take Purdue over Iowa. And the only reason this is my 1-point game is the point spread on this game
went down immediately.
Yes, and so somebody knows something I don't know. Maybe it's as simple as the most dominant unit on Iowa's team is that secondary, and against Purdue's passing attack. Maybe that's what it is.
So I bet I made my Iowa pick last week solely because the point spread went up really quick in favor of Iowa. And that was based on the original Circa. So Circa does this thing where they put out the absolute earliest lines. They responded to a few people who made that same observation that you did by saying, hey, it could just be a few $1,000 max bets, which is all they allow for their early games, from like 2 people they really respect. So that does mean something, but I'm not sure. It's not as if it went down 2.5 points overnight some, weekday this week. So there's that. But it should be closer than the original spread. Mine is Ohio State over Northwestern, my 7-point spot for the same reasons. I mean, there's no hope for Northwestern at all. Michigan over Rutgers is also my 6-point play, only because I think they're not going to win by as big of a margin as Ohio State. Penn State over Indiana is my 5-point play. Have the same general concerns that you did, but I still think it's just way too talented, way too big of a talent gap. And I don't know what Indiana is necessarily, I don't know where their head is and where they are mentally now. Number 4, I've got Purdue over Iowa.
Like the emotional hedge?
It's always the emotional hedge when I pick against Iowa, isn't it? Always the emotional hedge, not because I have
I'm projecting because that's what I do.
Yeah, well, it's the double whammy because, this is actually what I think is going to happen, and, it's an emotional hedge. I just Purdue until for whatever reason Iowa, they have a defensive coordinator witch in Phil Parker. For whatever reason, Jeff Brom's Purdue.
It's been his kryptonite.
It's been his kryptonite, and he's been very stubborn in changing scheme. And, understandably so, it's worked pretty well for him. Until I see something different from Iowa defensively and how they approach that, I don't think Iowa really has a shot in this one. Interesting, though, I don't know if you're aware of this. There is, behind the scenes, there is actually some pretty bad blood between these two staffs, Iowa and Purdue. Purdue seems to think Indianapolis is just like their territory. And
recruiting-wise, you mean?
Recruiting-wise, and of course they had the 2 wide receiver defects over the offseason as well. Number 3, I've got Minnesota over Nebraska. Same thing as you. I want to take Nebraska one of these times. I want to take Minnesota in a huge win one of these times. I don't trust either of these teams, but I think the better team is Minnesota. They've shown that, and so I've got them on top at the 3 slot.
There's a disagreement.
Number 2, Maryland over Wisconsin. I'm going to need to see a little bit more consistency from Wisconsin. Now, they are coming. I don't think they had a game last week. They're coming off of their
Both teams
win.
had buys.
And so did Maryland as well. So I'm not really sure what to look forward to in this one, but it will be fascinating to see how Wisconsin will respond to Maryland's attack. It's not something that Wisconsin sees a whole lot of in the West, maybe with the exception of Nebraska. And, even last year, Wisconsin had trouble with Nebraska. So we'll see how that goes. And then number 1, I've got Illinois over Michigan State. I've got a really weird feeling about this game. And
now you've got me rooting for Sparty because I need to... No, that would actually cost me 4 points. So no, I'm not rooting for Sparta.
So I've got a really weird feeling about this game. My record and really weird feelings about games is basically undefeated this year. Remember earlier this season, I had a couple of weird feelings about games. Then I just something stinks to me on this one. I can't pinpoint it, but something stinks.
We got to start disagreeing more, man. I can't pick up any ground. Or lose more, depending on how that goes.
Well, we do have some disagreement this week. It's not going to be earth-shattering, but we do have some disagreement.
That'll do it for this week's episode of the Confidence Picks. Don't forget to keep up with what we're doing here on the channel, from Michigan Podcast to Bigger 10 and more. Thanks to all of you for watching.